My wife left me for another man, got into an accident, and came back in a wheelchair demanding I take care of her. My name is Alex, and I'm writing this down because people need to understand something fundamental about relationships and consequences. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Don't wait for Act 2. Don't hold out for the extended version with bonus scenes. The first showing is almost always the most honest one you'll ever get. I was with Jessica for 6 years. 6 solid years of what I thought was building a life together. We had the kind of relationship that made older people nod with approval, the kind that didn't create drama at family dinners or require couples' social media posts to validate it. It just existed. Steady, reliable, real, or so I thought. I'm the guy who remembers that the car insurance renews in April. I'm the one who notices when the back tire pressure is low and fixes it before it becomes a problem. When her mom calls while she's at work, I write the message on the bathroom mirror with dry erase marker so she sees it first thing. I keep a shared calendar. I meal prep on Sundays. I fix leaky faucets before they turn into floods. That was our dynamic. She lived in the moment. I planned for the future. She dreamed. I executed. She forgot passwords. I kept them all in an encrypted file. It worked. At least I thought it worked. She used to tell me she loved that about me. How I had everything organized. How she never had to worry because I was always thinking ahead. She'd come home stressed about work deadlines, and there'd be dinner waiting. Nothing Instagram-worthy, just real food at the right temperature. She'd sit down and exhale like she'd been holding her breath since morning. "You're the best," she'd say with this tired smile. I believed it meant something. Looking back now with the clarity that only comes from getting burned, I can see all the signs I ignored. Or maybe I didn't ignore them. Maybe I just chose to believe they meant something else. She started going to the gym at odd hours. Not consistently odd, like every Tuesday at 7. Random odd. Sometimes morning, sometimes late evening, sometimes not at all for days, then suddenly 3 times in one day. She bought new workout clothes. Started caring about what she looked like before the gym instead of after. Put on makeup to go lift weights. Who does that? Her phone became an extension of her hand, face down on every surface. Notifications turned off. She'd be sitting across from me at dinner, and her phone would buzz, and she'd flip it over so fast you'd think it was on fire. Then she'd laugh at whatever was on the screen. Really laugh. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard directed at anything I'd said in months. I started asking questions. Casual ones at first. How was the gym? Did you try that new class? Who do you usually see there? Her answers got vaguer. It was fine. Just the usual people. Nobody really. You wouldn't know them. Then came the bigger questions. The ones that felt like setting traps for myself. Are you happy? Do you think we're still growing together? Do you ever feel like we're just roommates going through the motions? I answered honestly every single time. Yeah, I'm content. We're building something good here. Stability isn't the enemy. I thought we were on the same page. Turns out we weren't even reading the same book. The real conversation happened on a Tuesday evening in October. I remember because I just picked up our photos from the drugstore. Actual printed photos because I'm old-fashioned like that. There was one of us from a hiking trip in summer. She was laughing at something, sun in her hair, and I was looking at her like she'd hung the moon. I was in the kitchen making pasta sauce. I've got this recipe my grandma taught me. Nothing fancy. Just crushed tomatoes, garlic, basil, thyme. The kind of thing that smells like home. I was stirring, watching the bubbles form those little craters, when she walked in. She had that look, the kind that says I've been practicing this conversation in my head for weeks, and now it's showtime. I beat her to the punch. Something in my gut just knew. Is there someone else? No preamble. No easing into it. Just the question hanging there between us like smoke. The silence that followed could have filled a cathedral. She stood there, hand on the counter, mouth opening and closing, like she was trying out different answers to see which one would hurt less. Finally, she breathed in. Really breathed in like someone about to go underwater. And she said yes. 1 word. 3 letters. It hit like a car running a red light. You see it coming for half a second, and then boom. You're in the intersection dealing with the aftermath. I turned off the stove. Put the spoon down with more care than it deserved. Stood there counting to 10 in my head so I wouldn't say something I'd regret. Not regret because it would be cruel. Regret because it would give her ammunition later. How long? My voice was steady. Even I was surprised. About 2 months. 2 months. Not one drunken mistake at an office party. Not a moment of weakness, she immediately confessed. 2 months of active, ongoing deception. 2 months of coming home and kissing me hello with lies still on her lips. 2 months of letting me plan our future, while she was building a different one behind my back. Who is it? A guy from the gym. Brandon. Brandon. Of course it was a Brandon. Probably had a tribal tattoo. Probably posted gym selfies with captions about the grind. Probably called himself an entrepreneur while working 3 shifts at a supplement store. You need to decide right now, I told her. I'm not doing the pick-me dance. I'm not competing for my own wife. You either want this marriage or you don't. But I'm not going to be the backup plan while you test drive someone else. She started crying. The pretty kind of crying, where tears just roll down without the nose running. The kind that's supposed to make men fold. I didn't move. I think I need to go, she said between sobs. I need space to figure things out. Space to figure things out is code for, I want to try being with him without officially ending things with you in case it doesn't work. I'm not stupid. Then go, I said. But understand that the second you walk out that door, we're done. Not on a break, not figuring things out. Done. I'm not going to sit here watering dead plants hoping they'll bloom again. She looked at me like she expected an argument. Like she'd prepared for me to beg or threaten or promise to change. The thing is, I had nothing to change. I hadn't cheated. I hadn't lied. I hadn't broken the vows we made. She did. She packed a bag that night. I watched from the couch, not helping, not interfering, just witnessing. She kept looking over at me, pausing like she was waiting for me to stop her, to fight for her, to show her I cared enough to make her stay. I showed her I cared enough to let her go. I'll come back for the rest of my things, she said at the door, one hand on the handle, overnight bag over her shoulder. Text me first. I'll make sure I'm not here. She actually looked hurt by that, like I was being cruel, like I was supposed to facilitate her affair by being available whenever she needed to swing by for supplies. The door closed. The apartment got quiet in a way that felt physical, like the air itself was heavier. I sat there on the couch for a solid hour, staring at the wall, doing mental inventory of 6 years. Shared lease, joint bank account, joint credit card, shared friends, shared memories, shared plans for a future that just evaporated like steam. Then I got up, opened my laptop, started making lists. Because here's what Jessica didn't know about me. When I commit to something, I commit completely. Whether it's building a relationship or ending one. I don't half-do things. I don't leave loose ends. And I definitely don't let anyone rewrite the narrative later. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked methodically. Documented everything. Screenshots of texts where she admitted to the affair, date stamps on messages, credit card statements showing charges to restaurants we never went to together, hotel rooms I never stayed in, lingerie purchases in sizes that weren't her usual. I separated our finances, closed the joint accounts, opened new ones in just my name, changed every password to every shared account, made a spreadsheet of every shared asset with receipts showing who paid for what. I spoke to a lawyer. Not for advice on how to save the marriage, for advice on how to end it cleanly, with documentation, with evidence, with everything locked down so tight that there'd be no room for interpretation later. The lawyer, this older woman with sharp eyes and sharper suits, looked at my spreadsheet and actually smiled. You're going to be fine, she said. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Jessica texted me a few times those first 2 weeks. Casual stuff. Did you pay the electric bill? Can I come get my yoga mat? Hope you're doing okay. I answered the logistics, ignored the feelings. Yes, bill paid. Text me when you want to come by. She wanted it both ways. Wanted to leave but not be left. Wanted freedom but not consequences. Wanted the excitement of new while keeping the security of old. That's not how this works. The accident happened about 8 weeks after she moved out. I found out through Oscar, a mutual friend who still thought we might reconcile. He sent me a text at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. Did you hear about Jessica? My stomach dropped for half a second before I remembered I didn't have to care anymore. No. What happened? Bad car accident. Brandon was driving. He didn't make it. Jessica's in the hospital. Thought you should know. I read it 3 times. Brandon was dead. Jessica was hurt. And I felt absolutely nothing. Not satisfaction. Not sadness. Not even relief. Just this blank space where a reaction should have been. I didn't go to the hospital. Her mother called me at 2 in the morning, crying so hard I could barely understand her. Jessica was asking for me. She needed me. I was still her husband legally. Please would I come? I'm sorry about the accident, I told her. I really am. But I'm not her husband in any way that matters. She made sure of that when she left. She needs you, Alex. She's in a wheelchair. She can't walk. She's going to need help. She has family. She has friends. She doesn't have me. Not anymore. Her mother called me heartless. Called me cruel. Said I'd regret this someday. Maybe I would, but I doubted it. I hung up, turned my phone off, went to bed, stared at the ceiling for 3 hours but didn't call back. The information came in pieces over the following weeks. Through Oscar mostly. He'd text me updates like I'd asked for them. Through other friends who thought they were being helpful. Through social media posts I hadn't blocked yet because I was documenting everything. Screenshots, dates, times, evidence that she'd moved on, built a life without me, right up until that life shattered. Brandon died on impact. Engine crushed the driver's side of his car when they hit a median going 60 in a 45 zone. Reports said it was raining, that the road was slick, that he lost control. His mother later claimed he was distracted by his phone, by a message. People implied it might have been from Jessica. Jessica had spinal injuries, L1 and L2 vertebrae fractured, nerve damage they couldn't fully assess until swelling went down. The doctors gave her the speech, the one where they list percentages and use words like potential and possible and with intensive therapy. They said she might walk again with months of physical therapy, the right specialists, time and luck. They also said she might not, that she might need the wheelchair permanently, that her life was going to be divided into before and after. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks. Surgeries, assessments, pain management, learning how to exist in a body that didn't work the way it used to. Then a rehab facility for another month. One of those places that smell like industrial cleaner and unfulfilled promises. She learned to transfer from bed to chair, how to navigate doorways, how to accept help from strangers, because pride is a luxury disabled people can't always afford. Then she went to stay with her mother because Brandon's apartment was a third-floor walk-up with no elevator. Because all the excitement and adventure he'd promised her came with stairs she couldn't climb anymore. I heard all of this secondhand. I didn't call, didn't visit, didn't send flowers or cards or thoughts and prayers. Her mother's friends would see me at the grocery store and make pointed comments about compassion and Christian duty and how marriage meant in sickness and in health. I'd remind them that Jessica had already left the marriage, that you can't invoke vows you've already broken, that my compassion didn't extend to being someone's emotional support ex-husband. They'd walk away muttering about my cold heart. I'd finish my shopping and go home to my quiet apartment where nobody was lying to me. Some people thought I was a monster for that. They'd corner me at the grocery store or at the gym I'd switched to on the other side of town. How could you abandon her when she needs you most? Don't you have any compassion? What happened to in sickness and in health? I'd look at them very calmly and say, she didn't need me when she was healthy. She doesn't get to need me now that she's not. That usually ended the conversation. About 3 months after the accident, I got a text from Jessica's number. Not her mother this time. Her. Alex, I need to talk to you. Please, just coffee. I know I don't deserve it, but please. I stared at that message for a full day. Didn't respond. Let her sit in the uncertainty the way she'd left me sitting in uncertainty for 2 months while she carried on behind my back. Finally, I responded, tomorrow, 5 p.m., the coffee shop on Maple Street. She replied immediately, thank you, I'll be there. I showed up at 4:55, got my Americano, sat at a table near the back where there was room for a wheelchair to fit. Not because I was being thoughtful, because I didn't want a scene. She rolled in at 5:03. Her friend Katie was pushing her, shooting me dirty looks like I was personally responsible for the accident. I ignored her, focused on Jessica. She looked smaller. Not physically, though she'd lost weight. Just smaller in that way people get when life hits them hard, like she'd been compressed. Thanks for meeting me, she said, after Katie wheeled her to the table and then retreated to a corner table to watch us like a hawk. What do you need? Straight to business. No, how are you? No, I'm sorry about everything. Just what do you need? She ordered a tea she didn't drink. I saw her hands shake when the barista brought it over. I wanted to see if we could work something out. Work what out exactly? She looked down at her lap, at her motionless legs, then back up at me with eyes that were trying really hard to look sincere. I made a terrible mistake, Alex. The worst mistake of my life. And I'm paying for it. Believe me, I'm paying. But I thought maybe we could try again. Maybe we could. No, just that. One word. Clean as a knife. Alex, please, just listen. No, I said again. I don't need to listen. You made your choice. You chose him over me. You chose to lie to me for 2 months. You chose to leave. Those were all your choices. You don't get to unmake them because they didn't work out the way you planned. I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. You knew exactly what you wanted. You wanted him, and you got him. I'm sorry he's dead. I genuinely am. That's a tragedy. But it's not my tragedy. And your situation now doesn't erase what you did then. I'm in a wheelchair, Alex. She said it like it was an argument, Like disability trumped infidelity in the game of who deserves sympathy. I know. And I'm genuinely sorry about that. But your wheelchair doesn't change the fact that you cheated on me. It doesn't change the fact that you left me for another man. It doesn't change the fact that you destroyed what we had. You don't get a reset button because Plan A crashed and burned. Where am I supposed to go? My mom can't take care of me forever. I can't work full time like this. I need help. And there it was. The real reason for coffee. Not because she missed me. Not because she realized what she'd lost. Because she needed a caretaker with a history and emotional investment. That's not my problem to solve. She started crying. Real tears this time, not the pretty ones. Ugly crying with her whole face involved. I didn't move. Didn't reach across the table. Didn't comfort her. Just sat there and let her cry it out while Katie glared at me from the corner. When she finally got control of herself, I spoke very carefully. I have all of your belongings. Everything you left at the apartment. I'm going to organize a proper handoff, with witnesses, in a public space, so there's no confusion later about what you got or didn't get. You'll receive everything that's yours. After that, we're done. Completely done. Can't we just... No. Whatever you're about to ask, the answer is no. We're getting divorced. It's already in motion. You'll get served papers next week. Everything will be fair. I'm not trying to screw you over, but I'm also not going to let you rewrite history or manipulate me into becoming your backup plan. I stood up, dropped a 20 on the table for both our drinks, looked at her one more time. You wanted freedom. You've got it. Now you get to figure out what to do with it. I walked out. Didn't look back. Katie followed me to the parking lot, yelling about how heartless I was. I got in my car and drove away. The closure event happened 2 weeks later. I'd rented the community room in my apartment building, sent formal invitations to key people, both our families, a few close friends, even the building manager as a witness. The invitation was simple: formal dissolution of assets and return of property. Saturday, 7 p.m. Your attendance requested for documentation purposes. My sister Rachel called me. What are you doing? Closing a chapter properly. This seems extreme. So was her cheating on me for 2 months and then expecting me to take care of her after it blew up in her face. Rachel was quiet for a second. Then, fair point. I'll be there. The room looked like a condo association meeting. Folding chairs in rows, a table at the front with water bottles, fluorescent lighting that made everyone look tired. No decorations, no music. Just stark, official, documented reality. People started arriving at 6:50. My parents came together, looking uncomfortable. Her parents came separately, looking devastated. Her mom couldn't even look at me. Rachel came with her husband, both of them looking curious about what I was planning. Jessica arrived at 7:05, pushed by Katie again. She looked around the room like she was trying to understand what was happening, like she thought maybe this was an intervention or a reconciliation attempt. It wasn't. At 7:10, I stood up. No microphone needed. The room was small and everyone was already quiet, waiting. Thanks for coming. I know this is unusual, but I wanted everyone here for a specific reason. Jessica and I are getting divorced. That's not up for debate or discussion. It's happening. What we're doing here tonight is closing things properly, with documentation, with witnesses, so there's no confusion later. I pulled out a large bag from under the table, started removing items. These are all of Jessica's belongings that were at our apartment. I've made a complete inventory. Every item is listed here with a photo and description. Clothes, books, jewelry, photos, personal items, everything. I placed a binder on the table. If anything is missing, speak up now. Jessica stared at the items like they were evidence at a crime scene. Her photo albums, her favorite scarf, her collection of coffee mugs, her books, all of it laid out like artifacts in a museum. I've also prepared financial documents. I handed out stapled packets to everyone in the room. This details every shared asset Jessica and I had, how it was paid for, who contributed what, how it's being divided. Everything is documented with receipts and bank statements. Her father started reading, his face getting redder by the page. There's a specific section I want to draw attention to. It's labeled Attributable Expenses. Quote, these are charges made to our joint credit card after Jessica informed me she was leaving. Hotel stays with Brandon, dinners, concert tickets, a weekend trip to the coast, all charged to our shared account while she was actively in a relationship with another man. The room got very quiet. I'm not bringing this up to shame anyone. I'm bringing it up for clarity. These expenses had nothing to do with our marriage or our household. They were personal consumption related to her affair. The total comes to $3,200. I'm requesting, through the divorce proceedings, that Jessica assume responsibility for these charges. That's fair. That's documented. That's final. Her mother stood up. How dare you? Mom, sit down, Jessica said quietly. Her mother sat, shaking with either rage or grief or both. I continued. I've also removed Jessica as my emergency contact from all medical, legal, and financial documents. I've notified our insurance companies, our bank, our utility providers. I've closed joint accounts. I've separated everything that can be separated. What can't be immediately separated, I'll continue paying for 3 months to give Jessica time to transition. After that, she's on her own. I pulled out another document. This was the hardest part, but it had to be done. I want to read something, not to be cruel, but so everyone understands why there's no going back. I opened my phone, started reading from screenshots. Text message from Jessica, May 14th. I need to tell you something. There's someone else. I'm sorry. Text message from Jessica, May 15th. I'm staying at Brandon's tonight. I need space to think. Email from Jessica, May 20th. I'm moving in with Brandon. I'll come get my things when you're not there. Her mother was crying now. Her father looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. I'm not reading these to embarrass Jessica. I'm reading them so everyone in this room understands that I didn't abandon her. She left me. She chose someone else. She ended our marriage. What happened after that? The accident, her injuries, none of that changes the fact that she made a choice to leave. I closed my phone, looked directly at Jessica. I don't hate you. I don't wish you harm. I hope you build a good life, but I can't be part of that life. You made sure of that when you left. This isn't revenge. This is consequences. Fair, documented, legal consequences. I sat down. The room was silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights and someone's stomach growling. The building manager, Mrs. Chen, stood up. I just want to say that this is one of the most professional and clear property dissolutions I've witnessed in 30 years of managing this building. Everything is documented. Everything is fair. I'll be providing my signature as a witness to these proceedings. People started to leave slowly, awkwardly, like they'd witnessed something uncomfortable but necessary. My parents hugged me on the way out. My dad whispered, "You did the right thing." Rachel lingered, waited until almost everyone was gone, then came up to me. "You really thought this through," she said. "I think everything through. You know that." She looks destroyed. She destroyed herself. I just refused to clean up the mess. Jessica was still sitting there, Katie beside her, both of them looking shell-shocked. I walked over, knelt down so I was eye level with her. "You get 3 months of covered services. After that, you'll need to take over all your own accounts. The divorce papers will be served next week. Sign them. Don't fight them. There's nothing to fight about. Everything's already decided. Alex, I mean this genuinely. I hope you find happiness, but you're not going to find it with me. You gave that up when you left. The wheelchair doesn't change that. The accident doesn't change that. Nothing changes that." I stood up, started packing up the documents. "One more thing," I said without looking at her. "Don't contact me anymore. No texts, no calls, no emails. If there's something legal that requires communication, go through lawyers. Otherwise, we're done talking. This was closure. That's it." I left the community room, went upstairs to my apartment, made dinner, ate it, watched something on TV, went to bed. Normal life, without drama, without guilt, just life. The divorce proceedings were clean. My lawyer had everything documented perfectly. Jessica's lawyer tried to argue for alimony based on her disability. My lawyer pulled out the evidence of adultery, and the judge shut it down immediately. Divorce granted on grounds of fault. Assets divided according to documentation. No alimony. Attributable expenses assigned to the respondent with payment plan options. Case closed. The gavel came down. 6 years over and 15 minutes of legal procedure. Outside the courthouse, I saw Jessica struggling with the wheelchair on a curb. Katie had already left. Jessica was alone, trying to figure out how to get down without tipping forward. I walked over, not to help, just to end this properly. "You need help? I can manage," she said, voice tight with pride or stubbornness or both. "Good, because this is the last time I'm going to be near you. The divorce is final. The debts are assigned. Everything's closed. Move on with your life, Jessica, far away from mine." "I really am sorry," she said quietly. "I know, but sorry doesn't fix anything. It just makes you feel better about what you broke." I walked to my car, drove home, and I didn't think about her again. Not in the way that mattered. Weeks turned into months. Life continued in that way it does when you finally stop waiting for something to change. I got a promotion at work. My boss, who knew some of what I'd been through because everyone in a small company knows everything, pulled me aside after the announcement. "You've been more focused than ever," he said. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." What I was doing was simple. I was living without having to manage someone else's chaos, without having to wonder if today would be the day she came clean about something else she'd been hiding, without having to calculate the emotional cost of every conversation. I started running on Sunday mornings, something I'd always said I'd do but never got around to because Jessica thought it was boring, thought I should do more exciting workouts. Rock climbing, CrossFit, something with a community aspect where we could make couple friends. Turns out I like boring. I like running the same route every week, seeing the same people walking their dogs, watching the seasons change through the same trees. Boring is peaceful. Boring is predictable. Boring means nothing is waiting to explode. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a 3-year-old mutt named Duke with one floppy ear, brown spots on white fur, and absolutely zero behavioral issues. The shelter volunteer seemed almost apologetic about him. "He's not a puppy," she said. "He's not a purebred. He's just a good, solid dog." "Perfect," I said. "That's exactly what I need." Duke and I understood each other. He didn't need constant entertainment, didn't need me to prove my commitment with grand gestures, just needed consistency, food at the same time, walks on schedule, a person who showed up. I could do that. I renovated the kitchen over 3 weekends, ripped out the old cabinets Jessica had spent hours choosing, the ones that had always been slightly too dark for the space, installed new ones in a light wood that made the whole room feel bigger, cleaner, more mine. Got a coffee maker that actually worked instead of the fancy one she'd wanted that broke every 2 months. Learned to make my grandma's sauce better than I ever had before, partly because I had time and partly because I wasn't cooking for someone who'd critique the garlic ratio. I started going to a new gym on the east side of town, a place where nobody knew me, or Jessica, or Brandon. Nobody gave me those sympathetic looks that made me feel like a tragedy. Nobody asked how I was really doing in that tone that meant they wanted details. They just worked out. I appreciated that more than they'd ever know. The talk started by accident. I was at a community center helping my neighbor's kid with a school project about personal finance. The center director overheard me explaining budgeting and asked if I'd be interested in giving a workshop. I said yes without thinking too hard about it. That first talk, there were maybe 12 people. I covered basics: how to separate finances, how to track expenses, how to prepare for the unexpected. At the end, a woman raised her hand. "What if you're separating finances because of a divorce?" The room got quiet. Everyone suddenly very interested in my answer. "Same principles apply," I said. "Actually, they're more important. Document everything. Keep records. Don't assume the other person will be fair or honest. Protect yourself first." After the talk, 3 people came up to me with their own divorce stories. Messy ones, expensive ones, ones where they hadn't documented anything and were paying for it now. I started doing more talks, 1 a month, then twice a month. Financial literacy, boundary setting, how to end things properly. The topics evolved based on what people kept asking about. At one session, someone asked the question directly: "What if the other person tries to come back? What if they say they made a mistake?" I thought about Jessica, about that coffee shop meeting, about her saying she needed me. "You give them closure, not a return," I said. Closure means being clear, returning their belongings, cutting financial ties, explaining your decision once and then holding to it. It's not about punishment. It's about protecting yourself from someone who's already shown they'll choose something else when it seems better. But what if they're in crisis? What if they really need help? You can help them find resources without becoming the resource. There's a difference between being kind and being available. You can point someone toward therapy, support groups, disability services, family, but you don't have to be their emotional support system after they destroyed your trust. The talks became known for being direct, practical. No guilt trips about compassion or second chances. Just clear-eyed assessment of what healthy boundaries look like. Word spread. I got invited to do a bigger presentation at the community college. 75 people showed up. I used slides. Case studies with identifying details changed. A whole section on documentation strategies. How to photograph belongings before returning them. How to conduct a witnessed property exchange. How to close shared accounts without missing anything. And then I met Inez. She was at a coffee shop typing furiously on a laptop, surrounded by notepads covered in shorthand I couldn't decipher. I was waiting for my drink. Our orders got mixed up. She took my Americano. I got her oat milk latte. "This isn't mine," we both said at the same time. She laughed. I smiled. We switched cups. "You're the Americano guy," she said. And you're the complicated order person. Oat milk isn't that complicated. It's 3 modifiers. That's complicated. We ended up sitting at the same table. Turned out she was a journalist working on a series about urban development. She showed me her notes like I'd understand them. I showed her my spreadsheet for the kitchen renovation, like it was interesting. You really like documentation, she observed. I really like knowing where I stand. Bad experience? Educational experience. She didn't push. I appreciated that too. We started meeting at that coffee shop on purpose. Then we went to dinner. Then a movie. Then another dinner. I told her about Jessica on date 3 because I believe in honesty. She cheated on me, left me for someone else. He died in a car accident and she ended up in a wheelchair. She tried to come back. I said no. Inez processed that information while eating her pasta. Finally, she put her fork down. Did you love her? Yeah. Do you now? No. Good, because I don't do complicated. Neither do I. Not anymore. That was 8 months ago. We're solid. Not in a dramatic way. In that boring, stable, predictable way that I've learned to value. She has her apartment. I have mine. We see each other 3 or 4 times a week. We talk every day. We plan things and follow through. It's nice. Jessica tried to reach out a few more times over the months. Texts I didn't read. Emails I deleted without opening. A handwritten letter that arrived at my apartment that I threw away unopened. I wasn't being cruel. I was being consistent. She didn't get to be in my life anymore. Not in any capacity. That door was closed, locked, and the key was melted down. People still ask me about it sometimes. Usually people who don't know the full story. They hear woman in wheelchair and husband divorced her, and they make assumptions. Did you hear about Alex's ex-wife? She's disabled now and he just abandoned her. I correct the record when I hear it. Politely but firmly. She left me for another man. Moved out. Moved in with him. He died in an accident that also left her injured. She then tried to come back, and I declined. I didn't abandon anyone. I simply refused to be a backup plan. Most people get quiet after that. Some people still think I should have helped. That compassion should override betrayal. That disability erases infidelity. I disagree. Last month, I saw Jessica at the grocery store. She was by herself, navigating the aisles slowly in her wheelchair. She looked better than she had at the coffee shop meeting. More confident, more independent. She saw me. Our eyes met across the produce section. For a second, I thought she might wheel over. Try to talk. Try one more time. She didn't. She just nodded. Once. I nodded back, and we went our separate ways through the store, shopping for our separate lives. That's how it should be. Rachel called me a few days later. I saw Jessica at the store. She looked okay. That's good. She told me she got a job, remote work, data entry. It's not much, but it's something. I'm glad she's figuring it out. She also said she doesn't blame you anymore. I was quiet for a moment. I never needed her not to blame me. I knew I didn't do anything wrong. She knows that now too, I think. Good for her. We talked about other things. Rachel's kids, my kitchen renovation, normal life things. The Jessica chapter was closed for both of us. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.